I'm going to regret this, but I'm redoing Virgin Queen. I've been playing with the idea for a while. Played a couple of games in the reason why I'm doing this, and this isn't going to be a full intro going through the rules and whatnot. I did that originally. I've reread them. They're probably not too great on my mind. But the reason I did it, I've played a couple of games in the series. Now, I love Here I Stand over there. I recently got Tanto Monta, and that's what inspired me for getting back to this. Because when I played Virgin Queen the first time, I gotta get something to clip this down. It's funny, hard maps sometimes are the ones I want to put plexi over. When I played Virgin Queen for the first time, my reaction was based on having, being a real fan of Here I Stand. And since then, I've seen at least 3 other games based on this system. 2 officially, 1 unofficially, maybe 4 other games. And every single one of them, including Virgin Queen, seems to go way beyond Here I Stand in terms of the complexity of decisions and manipulation of the game state and whatnot. And just keeping track of all the shit you can do, all these different capabilities for each of the powers in the game, in a way that feels burdensome. So Here I Stand gave a couple of things. One is it was set in a period that I love. Okay, all of these games that I've looked at that are based on Here I Stand are set in a period that I love. It was fairly detailed in terms of the historical side of things that it was covering. Not much of a sandbox in a lot of ways, which is very easy to see in that one of the things I think about is, I'd love to play something that linked them together or something. And it's often very easy with a more traditional design to figure out some way of kind of linking a couple of games, even games that are not at all alike, together very easily. But with this, and the fixed situation with the cards, where there's only certain events that are available, etc., there's not a lot of room for what if. Saw something moving down there. Which is, somewhat disappointing, but, when you do try to glue a couple of games together, it doesn't always work very well, and you kind of regret it. I had thoughts of such things with, like, I don't know, trying to think of, like Europe in Turmoil, immediately I thought to, hey, I can play La Grande Guerre with that. Likewise, something along similar lines with the old Pax Britannica, which should be kicking around down there as well. Trying to link that as a setup condition for a particular game that has a lot more details so that you can fiddle around with them a little bit more. And, I didn't end up doing it. It's kind of like the idea of linking scenarios in Imperium Romanum. But I look at these CDGs and I'm like, yeah, the starting position, it's not like I just have to fix a few little forces, maybe make up some rule that kind of matches the scenario. I'd have to make new cards. I'd have to make up a lot of shit to translate from one to the other, which is a little bit of sadness there. But the real thing that hit me is Here I Stand covered a couple of things. It covered that kind of detail, granted within certain fixed rails because of the cards and the characters involved and whatnot, and it managed to be a really good competitive game at a level that I liked. I hit Virgin Queen. And the map is the first thing. Like, this particular projection is really unpleasant to me, and it's kind of mutant looking, making areas bigger so that there's more space for the spaces in it. But it still fits, and this game takes up a lot of space, okay? It's not graphically appealing to me at all, okay? Bubble maps are not my favorite, and then when they're this distorted looking, they're just kind of crazy. But going beyond that, it started adding a lot more little crud to it to make the details that it was providing feel like they went to a greater level of details with stuff that like doesn't really feel like it does a lot in the game. So you got the royal marriages going on over here, and you got to deal with all kind of shit with that. Of course, the diplomacy and whatnot is still there. You've got the patronage points, just all this little chrome that honestly doesn't do a lot to sort of pushing the game forward. Maybe I'm forgetting stuff that was like that in Here I Stand, but it felt to me like Here I Stand was, there was a little bit, there was like the papal being able to, invest in the arts and stuff along those lines. But what I found in every one of these other games is that they're throwing more and more of this stuff on. And in the particular case of Virgin Queen, it felt exceptionally outside of what the main story that the game's trying to tell is. That the choices that were made. Now, I know a lot of people liked Virgin Queen. But anyway, in terms of like the details of the story and whatnot, I felt like they went into details on stuff that I don't really care about. And that added layer was too painful for the competitive type of game that it was, right? To me, Here I Stand is probably at about the limit at which I can cope with a highly competitive game. I'm thinking, the coin games are kind of that way, Here I Stand is that way, whatever. But in general, when I'm sitting down to play a highly competitive type of game, one where you're worried about, hey, can he slip too many victory points in? And in this, it's like, if you get X amount above another player, and I'm really worried because I thought it was like 5, and it looks like the Spanish start that far ahead. It's like 7 in Tanto Monta, but you may have to hit the 25 for it to count. Oh, no, it doesn't count until a certain number of turns have passed as well. Again, I don't recall. I'm going to be doing a lot of rules lookups and whatnot, and hopefully not so many on video. But yeah, it really kind of hit me as too much of that. But I can see where the competitive players would be okay with Virgin Queen for the simple fact that there are people who play the super heavy Euros nowadays that I look at and I'm just like, that's not what I'm into in this kind of thing. I've got way too many little options, and they're not really tangled together. They don't really hang together properly. It's just really this point salad type thing. And I feel like the point salad argument goes really, really heavily against Virgin Queen. Maybe more than any of the others that I've played. By the way, the one that I know is outside the series but is absolutely based on it, I've talked about this before, is not Wars of Religion. I think this over here. I don't know. Yeah, Time of Wars, which is an East European focused game, which is very interesting, but unlike the Ed Beach and GMT games, it's got a lot of problems. That Wars of Religion may also have a lot of linkage to this. That's I think so. I think there's one other game, and I think that may be the one other game that feels a lot like this series. But I may be wrong. But the Time of Wars is definitely, a direct relation to the Here I Stand family, just in a slightly different area. Now, what I found when I was playing Tanto Monta was, hey, if I stop playing this like I would play Here I Stand, if I play it like the first time I played Here I Stand, baby, where I wasn't really expecting that highly competitive game, if I'm not that focused on trying to win, trying to keep the points balanced, always having an eye on that kind of stuff, which honestly gets in the way of the narrative, and play it more like I played Europa Universalis, will I enjoy it more? And I did. And I thought to myself, I think I would have liked Time of Wars a lot more if I had focused less on playing it as a highly competitive game. Not be so worried that I might lose the automatic victory. That, honestly, the series has the victory point track, all this stuff, whatever. But the victory point track with this, attempt to maintain a balance of power in the game at all times, because somebody can win an automatic victory just by getting well enough, doing well enough on the victory points, or doing well enough with the keys that they have, or whatever. All of that promoted a very, very rich competitive game in Here I Stand that I think is comparable to, say, the coin games, though it bothers me less because it doesn't seem to always end in the exact same way. I don't know why that bothers me in coin particularly, but the fact that, it plays out to the last possible card that can be played because everybody can maintain the balance pretty easily. I feel like you can maintain the balance in Here I Stand relatively easily. I feel like the complexity in the later games, and perhaps especially Virgin Queen, but I'm not going to say that for sure, is such that it's beyond me to manage that kind of thing. So my thoughts while I was playing Tanto Monta was, let me take a look at Virgin Queen again and see if I can enjoy it if I'm playing it not to focus on trying to deal with the victory conditions. Now, I think I gave up kind of halfway through Virgin Queen and trying to play it really competitively or whatever. And as I read the rules and as I look at the mechanisms and the stuff as I've set it out, I'm pretty sure the answer is no. I'm pretty sure that the patronage and the royal marriages and all that is just going to get so far away from and of anything royal marriages shouldn't, right? It's just going to get so far away from what I consider kind of the main event of the game, which is sort of the key things is controlling territory on the board, dealing with the religious conflicts. And, it's kind of funny because in this sucker, each of the royal marriages has its own special little rule. Luckily, they're on the cards and not put in the rule book. So, yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. And some of the scientific bonuses and whatnot can come to you by trying to do patronage that can give you bonuses that apply in game. But they feel kind of like tech trees in these complex Civ games, where you just, what it reminds me of? It reminds me of fucking Raid Shadow Legends, where you're trying to balance out, and get everything to work perfectly and everything. It's not something that appeals to me at all. And so a fair amount of focus on the game is actually related to stuff that I actively dislike. Now, I got nothing wrong with technology, tech tree type things. But the perfect example of where one went wrong is Advanced Civilization. Okay, like Civilization had a perfect little tech system. That's what the game was all about. You collect your things. Very few of them had many extra abilities. They were really just your victory point cards for the most part. And then they upped it into something that just, spoiled the beautiful little horse race that the game was. As to the rule book, the rule book is more like Here I Stands than it is like Tanto Monta. And this is, I think, one of the things that really kind of knocked people back from Tanto Monta and made them say, I wasn't going to do an intro, but I'm talking so much I might as well. I won't do the rules, but I say, with the rule book open. But there's something like a third to a half of Tanto Monta's rulebook, which is much larger than this, it's like another 20 pages or so, is really these special case rules. And in addition, they complicated the combat system by putting these funny little, in so many cases, 4s count on the combat die rolls in a bucket of dice game. So I had to keep paging back and forth to look up just what the results of the combat meant. It never really could stick. Here, things like marriage and patronage, these are kind of core rules to this game, I would say. Where the special rules lie is here in this major powers thing, and instead of a third of the rule book, devoted entirely to special rules, by the way, in Tanto Monta. And that's why I say it's somewhere between a third and a half the rule book, because those special rules are repeated throughout the rules. Here, we're looking at 1, 2, 3 and a half cards, and then pages. And then the minor powers independence. This is not really special rules. There might be, there's a little bit, I think. Yeah, I don't even see any. I was going to say there's a little bit on the papacy, but I don't think so. The papacy has huge, it has like a page and a half itself, I think, in Tanto Monta. So I think that's one thing that made people really not appreciate Tanto Monta, who liked Virgin Queen, was it is just so full of that chromey type stuff. Now that chromey type stuff, the answer to that was get away from this highly competitive game. And I don't believe that Tanto Monta should have been designed in the system. Because the system inherently creates this sort of, the basis of Here I Stand was this competitive game that gave some deep consideration and presentation of the religious struggle, the military struggles going on within the religious struggle, the diplomacy going on in there, all that kind of stuff in a CDG in a way that I felt you could enjoy it in multiple different levels. I don't feel like I can enjoy Tanto Monta in multiple different levels. I don't feel like I can enjoy the other one, Time of Wars, in the same multiple levels. I feel like, and I certainly was able to take some enjoyment out of Tanto Monta, not worrying so much about remembering all the rules and trying to optimize my victory points and everything. And it ended early because if you're not doing all that stuff, the game is going to end with somebody slipping into an automatic victory. Maybe unintentionally, In my case, I wasn't really aware at all from anybody's standpoint that it was going to be close. This one has some hidden victory points. So the Holy Roman Empire has victory points that, for the most part, victory points get tracked when they get put on the board. But the Holy Roman Empire has victory points based on their choice here. So that can run from 0 to 7, and you get to support one religion. You get to make choices between being pro-Protestant, pro-Catholic, or somewhat balanced position. And the balanced position doesn't give you many victory points. You don't have the option to get as many, But it's kind of weird because if you take the pro-Protestant or pro-Catholic, you have the capability to get as many points off the top level as the Catholic, which is represented by the Spanish. They control the Catholic League in France and whatnot. And the Protestants, who have their own player here. Yeah. I haven't set everything up yet. I mean, I think I have, actually. I think I've set up everything that's supposed to be set up because the cards get dealt out later and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm about ready to start. I've been about ready to start for a while. Let's go into some personal stuff for whatever reason. One reason to trigger me, one little consideration to push me up here is, I got Stellar Horizons came in the mail. 2. And I really liked the first one, so hopefully it's not like Virgin Green and spoils the game for me. Another was, it was a pretty day. I didn't go out and cut wood. Cutting wood takes about a half hour or whatever. Instead, I went for a nice walk. I don't know, probably an hour and a half or so. Who knows? But yeah, I was able to force down feelings and prevent them for most of it, but at some point or another, while I was down near the campus, things hit me, and so the walk home was less pleasant or more painful emotionally. Whatever. And yeah. Other than that, let's see. Well, I no longer have access to Facebook. I don't know if it actually got hacked. A couple of times, my account, a couple of times I've had the same message come to me, which is like, we saw some strange posts or behavior on your account. And so, you know, you have to put in your confirmation code or whatever. Okay, whatever, you know. And then I go look, and there's nothing that's not me, and no indication that, like, you know, there's not like stuff like you should review this or whatever. And since they just said, you know, hey, it looked suspicious, whatever, I'm like, I don't know what they picked. There have been times when stuff showed up on my feed that doesn't look, that I didn't think I posted, but I kind of figure I may have clicked on, like, there's like share buttons. I've caught myself doing this accidentally, where I click a share button accidentally or whatever, and I don't know, maybe I did, you know, where I'm like posting some paid promotion or something like that just accidentally. It's funny, there's a guy whose account is constantly posting, a guy I know whose account is constantly posting raid ads. I tried to contact him about it because I'm like, oh, we play too. He didn't respond. He hasn't posted anything but those in a while. I'm thinking he may not be particularly well. He may not be on anymore. And somehow his account's been kind of tampered with. But yeah, I never saw anything on mine. I don't know if there's some way you can like report an account and say, I think this account's been hacked. Because I could see somebody trying to use that against me. I don't know. But what sucks about all that is that that was sort of my last remaining piece of like online just chatter place. And now what's kind of nice about it is that that was something that helped convince me to stick around and be like online a lot. Like I'm watching videos and, you know, maybe playing Raid or whatever, but then I'd like distract myself from all my distractions by going onto Facebook, checking to see if there was anything, maybe posting something. Sometimes I would think something. Now I've had a few thoughts since that time that I'd love to post, you know, just little things I want to say, not make a video about or whatever. And yeah, it's like I've been cut off one more step away. Like, online is about the only way I deal with people, other than Friday nights. So it was awfully fucking weird to like not have that anymore. And yeah, I'm a little anxious about it all. Why don't I have it? Because in addition to posting the code, now they want you to hook up a camera and like basically send them your face. It is Facebook after all. And I'm like, well, I actually can't do that easily. I don't have a camera hooked up to my computer. What I found was that these guys, you can't just hook these up and use them. And then I think also, look, you made it hard for me, but if somebody really wanted to fuck with stuff, they would take a clip of one of my videos or AI video someone's picture or something like that. If they're using it as some sort of this is what they say, some sort of facial recognition type thing. And yeah, you can't just upload it, but you can trick your computer into telling Facebook that it's getting it from a camera. I'm not concerned enough to do that with my own, but like, it's not security, man. I can think of ways around it already. Which is one of the, look, if it can be coded into information that, digital information that can be sent over the interwebs, it's not secure. The only way it's secure is if there's some other callback. So like, a picture of a face, no matter how you do it, a video of a face, whatever, you can't use that as a security thing anymore. It's no better than a password. Okay. Now the confirmation code is good, because they sent me something and it has a timeout and blah, blah, blah. And there's just no way that anybody can capture that in the same sort of way. Anyway, whatever. I'll swap batteries, send this up, because I have babbled long enough.